Hello and welcome back to Politically Incorrect. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, tonight we have an outstanding panel to talk about primarily Chelmsford issues. But before I introduce the entire panel, I thought we'd start with our special guest for tonight for a few minutes to talk about the synthetic fields, and that's Sal Lupoli. Thanks for being here, Sal.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
And it's always great to have you on the show, Sal. I think this is the third time in the past couple of months that you'll be on the show to talk about what's going on with the synthetic fields. But before we do that, I know that you're going through remodeling at the store in Chelmsford, the Sal's Pizza and Restaurant store in Chelmsford. Could you give us the update on that, Sal?
Yes, we're excited about it. We went through a huge remodel down there, and we have an exciting new concept that I've partnered with Heather Gillette Sealy, and that product is opening on the 11th. We're going to have a soft opening, and it's a frozen dessert, much like you see today with the orange leaves and the red mangoes and the pink berries. Heather created a concept called Yo Bite, and we're going to partner that with Sal's Pizza. So we're going to co-brand it and open it up on the 11th.
Nice. Yoga. Is it all going to be yogurt, or are you going to have ice cream as well?
No, just frozen yogurt, healthy frozen yogurt.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Exciting toppings, much like you see out on the market today. It's a self-serve component. And it's exciting stuff. It's going to be great.
Wonderful. I can't wait to try it out. So I've been eating yogurt a lot, as I told you on the last show you were here. Almost every night, like I have some yogurt.
Well, you're going to have to come in for a nice slice of pizza and a frozen yogurt for dessert.
And your slices, are they a quarter of your pizza, right?
Quarter
Which
of a
are pretty
19 or
huge.
3-pound pizza. You got it,
Which
Tom.
and they're really great, and because it's kind of like almost like two slices in one,
That's right.
two regular
That's right.
slices at another place, but at Sal's it counts as one. So that's fantastic, Sal. So everybody knows you own Sal's Pizza. You're going to have maybe about 50 Sal's Pizzas by the end of this year, I think you said.
That's correct.
You have about 5 Salvatore's restaurants?
That's correct. We just opened our latest one at 34 Park Street in Andover, Massachusetts, right in downtown Andover.
Nice.
It's a Salvatore's. It seats about 130 people. Beautiful location. You'd have to come down and see it. It's called Salvatore's.
Nice. You know what I want to see? The one you're going to build in Chelmsford, right?
Oh my God, I'd love to.
We got to find a location, right?
I think
There's
this
gotta be
gentleman
one
across
here.
from me is going to help me one of these days. Find
Yeah,
out.
Jim, the Selectman will help. And yeah, that'd be great if you get a Salvatore. So you also have over 2 million square feet, I guess, of space in Lawrence that your real estate company has?
Yeah, we have various real estate projects throughout Merrimack Valley in Massachusetts and some in southern New Hampshire, but primarily we have about 2.5 million square feet in Lawrence, Massachusetts. It was an old abandoned mill comprised of about a dozen buildings, totally abandoned, and we renovated them and created a mixed-use development, and almost 4,000 people work there in the state of Massachusetts that really didn't exist 10 years ago.
That's fantastic.
It's a great story.
It's amazing. And I don't know how you have the time to do your volunteer work as well, Sal. Like being here today, you're a volunteer to talk about the synthetic fields. I think you're an assistant coach or something here in Chelmsford. Yeah. Also the head of Pop Warner or something like that?
That's correct. I'm president of Chelmsford Pop Warner. I coach Pop Warner. Last year I coached the B team. I'm also I'm lucky enough that Bruce Rich allows me to be his assistant defensive line coach at Chelmsford High School, so I coach the big boys, and it's a great opportunity for me because I get to see the little guys and tell them about what's important in life and how to respect their family and do well in school, and then I get to see the big guys and tell them what their life is going to be like and what they can expect after they graduate and how to be successes in life, and not only just in school but as men.
That's fantastic, Sal. Gee. Well, and tonight here you're here to talk about the synthetic fields. Could you give us the latest status on that, Sal?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been trying to put some synthetic fields in our town for well over 5 years. Yeah. Been working on the project that originally started with Jack Fletcher and myself. And Coach Fletcher and I had a vision of trying to create a synthetic field at the high school. We were going to different components to try to fund that. Always, every one of the fundings that we created, Tom, never impacted the town. We never wanted to raise taxes or anything like that. Yeah. Having said that, what we're trying to do now is a program that Paul Cohen suggested that could potentially pass, and I'm sure Jim will talk a little bit about that. But what it is 2 synthetic fields, one at McCarthy and one at the high school. Now at McCarthy, there's going to be a brand new track around the field, brand new scoreboard, brand new fences. There'll be some additional bleachers created. Yeah. And what's so exciting about that is this. Some people look at it as just a field for the kids. I don't look at it like that, Tom. I look at it as an image for our town.
Yeah.
When you come off of Drum Hill and you come around that corner, especially when it's raining out, what do you see? You see a track that's flooded. You see an image that probably you're not most proud of as a member of our community. So what I'm trying to do, along with many other people, and I'm working, and I answer directly to George Dixon, who is one of the selectmen in town, who is spearheading the fundraising component. And what we're trying to do is raise $500,000 to add it to the town that's going to put in $2.6 million. Because the whole project is going to cost about 3.1, Tom.
Yeah.
And if we can get 500,000 as a community, and Tom, we're on our way, and I'm proud to tell you a little bit about that tonight, but 500,000, which is going to be in 5s and 10s and 20s from our community. And remember, it's not just for the kids, although we have one of the most active athletic programs in the Merrimack Valley. We have probably some of the biggest programs in the Merrimack Valley. So our children, your nieces, your nephews, your neighbors' children, they're going to be using these synthetic fields, one at the high school and one at McCarthy, but also that image is going to change. It's going to change when people are allowed to walk around the track and they don't have to walk around mud over at McCarthy. So it's something to really be proud about, Tom.
Nice. And the field at the high school, how is that going to be significantly different than what's there now?
Well, what you have now is a natural surface that if you talk to our athletic director, Scott Moreau, he will tell you that that field is probably only used at best 30 times in the course of the year because it goes under such physical abuse. And not a lot of people understand it because they look at the field and they say, geez, it's so wonderful, it looks so great. Certainly maybe at Thanksgiving, the field looks in good shape. But realize that's on purpose. We intentionally do not play on that field because we realize how many times you can play on it before it's unplayable.
About 30 times a year,
If
maybe
that.
at the max.
If that.
Now, how many times do you think we'll be able to play in the synthetic field?
Synthetic fields you could play year-round, and if it didn't snow, and there's even instances where you could shovel the snow and still play on the field. Every single day, year-round, all hours of the day.
That's fair. And we're also going to be able to rent it out, I guess, for maybe getting $60,000 a year or something.
Tom, you are good. You are good, Tom. You don't forget anything.
No,
that's
not
absolutely
numbers.
correct. Yeah, no, I know that. That's absolutely correct, Tom. You're going to be able to use this not only for an image, not only for the kids to play year-round, but you're going to be able to use this as a revenue generator. And what do I mean by that? Chelmsford is so uniquely positioned within the Merrimack Valley, being so close to the high school, Drum Hill, and having ample parking. That makes Chelmsford really a key location. Many times Scott will turn down playing at our fields because it's centrally located, whether it's New Hampshire or within the Merrimack Valley. So we are going to have an opportunity to generate thousands of dollars on our synthetic fields. And that was just at the high school. Wait till you open up both fields.
And McCarthy, too.
That's right. Wait till you open up both fields, Tom. It's going to be great. It's going to be a revenue generator, and it's going to be something for us as a community to be proud of. And
could I ask, where would that revenue go? What account would it go towards? The $60,000, et cetera? Or would it go towards the maintenance of the fields, basically?
You know, Tom, that's a great question. You know, Paul Cohen's in charge of that. He's our leader for our town of Chelmsford, business manager. And he's going to determine where that goes. But I know this, it will generate dollars to offset expenses that we presently have now, and I think that's what it's all about. When you can generate more revenue, then you have expenses, you have your surplus, other programs will get funded.
Yes, wonderful. Well, how are we doing on the $500,000 of fundraising, Sal, at this point in time, and what's our next event for the fundraising?
Well, that's a great point. I'd like to tell you right now, we have well over committed over $200,000 in funds, and I think that's
fantastic.
You know, Tom, I was on your show when we first talked about it, and you know, it was a short time ago, only a couple of months ago, if that. And we talked about 500,000, and everybody I spoke to said, "Gee, Sal, 500,000. It seems like so much money, but it doesn't seem like so much money right now, does it, Tom? If I come to you right now and say, Tom, we got to raise 300,000, you say, "Geez, I can see that, Sal. I see that vision." And so what we're trying to do now is put together a series of fundraisers. We've had a couple of fundraisers together already. The first one netted over $15,000, which was really exciting. But what are some of the other fundraisers we have in the future? Well, the first thing I want you to do is consistently go to our Chelmsford school site and go to turf fields. There will be an update all the time of what's going on. Also, ChelmsfordTurfFields.com. Right there you can go online. There's a PayPal button at both locations, and you're able to make a contribution. Tom, this is getting done in 5s and 10s.
Yes.
This is not getting done by going to some big outfit and asking them to donate the money.
Yeah.
We're in the worst recession still, I feel,
Yeah.
that this country has seen in
Oh,
many,
yeah.
many
Yes.
years since the 20s. So
Yes.
to ask a company, to ask a individual or a group of people, put up $100,000 each, I
Yeah.
think those days are gone, Tom. I
Yes.
think what has to happen is us as a community has to put up our 5s and 10s and 20s and help rally to do this.
Yeah.
Now also, I think this is important, Tom. It's not just putting up money. We need boots on the ground. We need people to help support this program. And there's many things you can do other than just donate money. So if you go to chelmsfordturffields.com, and I have an email address right on there, please email me if you're interested in supporting this program in any way, and I'm sure we could find some position there to help the kids and help the community.
Well, thank you so much, Sal. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we head off? Or?
Yeah, we're right now we're scheduling a golf tournament, probably May 17th,
Oh.
probably at Vesper. You'll start to see it come out.
Yeah.
You'll see a wonderful article coming out in the Lawrence, on the Lowell Sun very shortly. You're going to see some additional ads in the Chelmsford Independent. So keep an eye out. We have a golf club coming up that's open for everybody, and a opportunity for that in May. I think it's the 17th. We also have a road race coming up. The fire department is involved, the police department involved. This is truly a community activity right now that we're trying to rally behind. So just spread the word and let everybody know how important it is.
We will, Sal, and I've been posting a lot, along with other people on Facebook, on the Chelmsford Reps and Residents page. Jim could attest to that. He always gives a thumbs up, and Leanne. When we have an article about the synthetic fields or some information or the fundraisers, I always make sure we post it there, Sal. You're probably too busy to be on Facebook, I'm sure, but Jim could attest to that we do. We try to get the information out there, and you're doing a great job, Sal. Thank you so much for volunteering to do this and helping the town like this. Like you said, it's going to help everybody in the town,
Really
not
will.
just the students or the families with children's in the school, but everybody.
Well,
It's gonna
thank
be
you for
wonderful.
letting me come on the show and talk about what's important to our community and what's important to the kids that are coming up.
Thanks. Anytime, Sal. Doing another show in 2 weeks.
I'll be here.
So just see you at 4 o'clock in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Tom.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sal. And if you want to get the mic on. Thank you. And I'll introduce this wonderful panel that I have. We have Jim Lane with us back tonight.
Hey, Tom.
How are you, Jim?
Doing well, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here, Jim. It's your 8th time on the show now.
Yep.
And as everyone knows, Jim is a member of the Board of Selectmen and doing a great job there. I think I see a lot of the meetings. You're so serious about what you do and take it very seriously. And I think everybody really appreciates it, Jim.
Well, I thank you for mentioning that, and
Yeah.
it's been a good 2 years, just approaching the end of my second year
Yes,
on the
yeah.
board. So
So next year,
time flies, yeah.
time flies, yeah. And next year is a big re-election year, right, Jim?
Next year's my
See?
big re-election year.
Yeah, and so do you like it okay, Jim?
I do. I love it. I love serving. I love giving back to my community, and I've been here my entire life, so it's kind of nice to be able to stay off the sidelines and be in the game and be able to contribute back to a community that's given so much to myself and my family throughout the years. So
Yes. And you're also a town meeting representative, right,
Yes,
Jim?
Yep.
What precinct, Jim?
I'm in precinct 7.
7?
Yep.
And so you're not up for re-election this year. You're all
No,
set with that.
no.
And were you on the planning board for quite a
I was
while?
on the planning board for 4 years
4
prior
years,
to being on the
yeah.
Board of Selectmen, so that ran concurrent. So
Fantastic.
I finished on the planning board and went on to the Board of Selectmen.
And you also have a very responsible position in business, right?
Yep, I run a company called Building Technology Engineers. That's one operating company, and then I run another company called MCOR Facility Services for a corporation called MCOR Group.
I don't know how you have time for all of this, Jim.
Well, you make the time.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
like the bobblehead there.
Yeah. This is a bobblehead of Marlon Brando playing the Godfather in 1972, and Jim gave this to me a few years ago because I guess the Godfather of Chelmsford, and so thank you very much, Jim. So now I'm going to keep this in my show briefcase, and we'll keep it on the desk by the show. On every one of the shows we do, it'll remind me of you and the great town that we have. That we want to make sure everybody takes care of the town like the Godfather would, right?
That's right.
Takes, really good care, like an honest, law-abiding Godfather would do it. I should say that, right?
That bobblehead's got to be good 5 or 6 years old now. It looks brand new. You
Yeah,
take good care of it.
Jim, I kept it on my desk, honest to God, in my home office all that time, and it just reminded me to work hard, for the town of Chelmsford. So thank you very much, Jim,
thanks
for
again
that,
for
for
having me.
being here again and for all that you do for the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have my good friend Ralph Hickey with us again tonight. How are you, Ralph?
Doing fine, Tom. Yourself?
Good. And your second time on the show, Ralph. So you're going to get used to it.
That's right. I know it. I'm an old timer.
Yeah. And Ralph has been a town meeting representative for a long time, right, Ralph?
That's right.
And you're up for re-election this year in Precinct 1.
Precinct 1. That's
Yeah.
correct.
I believe there's 7 candidates for the 6 seats this year in Precinct 1.
Right.
So everybody get out there and get a vote for Ralph.
Well, thank you for that. I think I have a good shot at it.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Everybody. In fact, we gave you an award, Citizen of the Year. You and your beautiful wife, Barbara Renison,
That's right.
about 2 or 3 years ago, you were Chelmsford Citizens of the Year.
Well, we
because of all-
appreciated that.
Yeah, all the volunteer work. People don't know all that you and your wife do for the town. For example, your wife just offered today, I'm emceeing a fundraiser for a cat coalition that adopts out cats, and your wife volunteered to make another basket like she did last year
Right.
for the silent auction, and she does that numerous times throughout the year. And you're also the ADA coordinator in town, right, Ralph? Or are you still that?
Still the ADA coordinator.
What does the ADA stand for?
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes, and you make sure that it's compliant with the right size bathrooms and the door entrances and everything, right?
Right. We try to make sure people with disabilities are taken care of.
Yes, yeah.
And all the buildings, our stores are accessible.
Yes, wonderful.
It's,
Yeah, are there any other committees that you're on in town, Ralph, before we?
I'm on the board of directors for the Paul Center
Oh, wonderful.
for Exceptional
wonderful.
Children.
Yes, yeah.
And I also helped Cratchit Mountain put in an accessible garden for the children could plant their own seeds and I believe they're the farmers. And that's going well up in New Hampshire.
Oh, that's wonderful, Ralph. Gee.
But they want me to put one in at the Paul Center. That's my next project here. But I have a lot of competition with Sal.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to speak to him because we put in that rubber substance in the Paul Center underneath the swings. If the kids fall,
Yeah.
they won't get hurt.
Wonderful.
So that was the first one in town.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we did that last year thanks to Carol Clevin.
Yeah.
She got a grant for us.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on the board over there at the Paul Center, right?
Yes, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for being here again, Ralph.
Well, thanks for letting me be here.
My pleasure. And we also have Ed Roux back on the show for your third
Hi,
time.
Tom. Yes.
Hi, Ed. And
Hi, how are you, Tom?
Good, good then. And Ed is up for re-election to the planning board this year.
Exactly.
And how many years have you been on the planning board, Ed?
This is I'm going for my third term, 4 years.
4 years. Wonderful. And you like it so far?
Enjoy it very much.
That's
I think
wonderful.
I contribute a little bit now and then.
Oh, I'm sure you do. And are you running for town meeting rep or not
No,
this year?
I let other people enjoy
Okay,
that opportunity.
Enjoy that. Yeah, wonderful. You also,
I have been a town meeting rep in the past, though.
yeah, Precinct 6, right?
Exactly.
Is it? And you also have been a realtor. You're still a realtor with?
Yeah, I did that. I used to be vice president of engineering for a large company and took retirement. And then I started doing a little bit of real estate work. So I'm kind of semi-retired, but I stay active in real estate.
Wonderful. And the market's picking up, right?
It's, yeah, this spring is going to, we hope, we've got our fingers crossed.
Yes.
Prices are up a little bit, activity's there. What the strangest thing, and this is the strangest thing going, in years, we don't have enough listings. We have buyers, and it's good for sellers because there's lots of competition
Yes.
going on. So that's actually driving the prices up a little bit.
Yes. Wonderful.
So listings, it's surprising. We're getting back to a listing level of in the late 90s.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Like the market was back then.
That's fantastic.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's
Well,
it's
that's
good for sellers.
That's great. Well, thanks again for being here.
Appreciate the
and again for the
opportunity.
third time. And we also have my good friend Leanne Sciacca with us tonight for the first time on the show. Hi,
Yes,
Leanne.
Hi.
I'm so glad you could be with us tonight,
Thank you for
Leanne. We're
asking
going to have fun, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. And you're a town meeting representative in Precinct 9, and you're running for re-election this year, right, Leanne?
Yes, that's true. Yep.
And in Precinct 9, my precinct also,
Yes.
but I'm not running this year, we have 9 candidates running for the 6 seats, right, Leanne? So it's,
Yes.
I think the most of any precinct in town, I believe, pretty
believe
much.
so.
I don't think anybody else has more than I. So best of luck with that,
Oh,
Leanne.
thank you.
Leanne's a wonderful person. I've known Leanne quite a while, and she comes to all of our Thanksgiving walks with her wonderful husband. Ed takes a lot of great photos in town and
Eric.
posts Eric. I did that before, Eric,
That's
and
okay.
posts them. Thank you, though. And he posts them on Facebook and helps us out with the photos. And and you bring your 2 daughters with you to some of these walks at Thanksgiving for us.
They love it.
And you also were at the Woodcrest fundraiser, which is where I saw you recently, and you bid on a photo I brought there, which was really
I
nice.
did.
I said, "Oh, I go to invite Leanne on the show. She likes my photos." So I did. You know, I was looking through the list. I'm saying, "Who's running this year?" And I said, "Oh yeah, Leanne's a wonderful person. I got to invite Leanne."
Thank
So
you.
I'm so glad you were able to. Because sometimes if people have never been on the show before, they get a little intimidated sometimes. But as you could tell, it's very low key. You know, very relaxed, right, Ed? No big deal.
No, I just sweated all day and got a hairdo.
Yeah, I did my hair today too. It looked good. Jim did his
Yeah, I
hair.
knew that was coming.
So, Leanne, are there any other committees you're on in town, or that you might want to mention? Or how long have you been a town meeting rep?
5 years now.
5
I've been
years.
a town meeting rep.
Yeah.
And the other involvement I have is I'm very involved at the South Row PTO.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Good
soon
for
the
you.
McCarthy PTO.
Oh, is that one of your daughters are going to be heading to McCarthy?
Well, she's
next
there
year?
now, but
she's there now.
I'm still very involved at South Row. Going to be moving over to McCarthy at some point. But
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
So, how do you like living in Chelmsford
Ah.
with your family?
I love Chelmsford. We have
Yeah.
we live in a great neighborhood called South Row Park, and we're very happy here. We've been here 12 years.
South Row Park is called?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What street is that at?
Right off of Cambridge Street on Greenway.
Oh, yeah, nice,
Yep.
nice, wonderful. Well, it's a great town, as you know, and
It
I think
is.
we're all here because we love volunteering for the town of Chelmsford, because we love this town and the people in it, right?
Sure
I mean,
do.
generally, we have about 33,500 people in this town, and in fact, Money Magazine picked us as, a few years ago, number 27 or something in the
Right.
country, something like that.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful achievement to achieve
Sure
that,
is.
you know? Because it's a town where middle-class people come. You don't have to be extremely wealthy, you're not extremely poor generally, but crime is pretty low, and so great amenities, great schools, maybe with synthetic fields pretty soon, which would be nice and safer for the kids. Well, thank you for being here, Leanne. We'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe I thought, first we could maybe start with Jim Lane, who is a member of the Board of Selectmen, and maybe you could update us on what's going on with the Board of Selectmen.
Sure.
Jim.
Just one thing with Leanne and the South Row PTO. They should really be commended with the new playground that went in.
Yeah.
You've probably read about. They had a fire a few years back, and the playground was in complete disrepair. It had to be demolished, and the PTO over at South Row really rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
Went through, multiple. I mean, talk about fundraising, right? Chumsodopoly games and going around and getting, donations and benefits, and it is absolutely beautiful. I was there to help with the
It is.
surface, all the rubber,
Oh,
the
thank
bags
you.
of rubber when we were emptying it out, which is kind of neat. You were talking about the rubber at the
Right.
Paul Center at South Row. They had bags of rubber chunks. I believe
Right.
that came from soles of sneakers as recycled,
Really? Oh.
and it's absolutely gorgeous what they've done there. And
Yeah.
now they're adding security cameras and things like that to the back there to monitor the back of the property. So. I want to thank you and the PTO, because without your help, it probably would have taken a lot longer
Oh, yeah.
to
Well,
get funding.
I can't
for.
take any credit, but we do have an amazing PTO.
Yeah, I know
there.
Danielle Evans worked really
Danielle
hard.
Evans,
and
Kathy Poisson, Betsy Hebert, Daphne Erickson. They're just amazing.
It's just a real close-knit group over there, and
Yeah.
they really, really did a nice job. As far as the turf fields go, I'll just kind of build off of what Sal had said. So community preservation monies will be used, if passed at town meeting, for $1.2 million is what the funding request is. That has been approved by the committee as a use that's allowed under CPC. So that'll be going on to town meeting and will be a warrant article. And I think it's interesting because we just spent, you know, almost $5.7 million on the restoration of two beautiful town halls, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you know the whole story where David Hedison was going to, you know, was
Yeah.
proposing turning them into housing, and all of a sudden,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the crowbars came out and everybody started to lobby for, well, you know,
Yeah.
we want to restore those to be used in the town.
Yes.
And those have been turned into really an art center and a
Yeah.
community center, really community centers,
Yeah.
right?
Beautiful.
That are just booked solid. Susan Gates and Leigh are doing a great job with getting those books solid and making sure they're used, because that was a concern that a lot of people had. If we sink all this money in, are we going to get, you know, are they going to be used? Are we going to get the return on it?
Yes.
And they are.
Yeah.
They're being used frequently. Matter of fact, we just had the annual Community Preservation Coalition meeting there not too long ago in the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. Went very well. It was a perfect venue for it. And it was kind of nice for the town of Chelmsford to be able to showcase to all the other communities that participate in community preservation acts that this is what you can do
Yes.
with the monies if you have a town that's behind you and you have a town meeting that understands the importance of utilizing these funds.
Yes.
But, you know, you have these two indoor community centers, right?
Yeah.
I look at the turf fields as, you know, the community centers that we have that are indoors, you know, virtually hundreds of people get to use them. These turf fields and the track and everything that's going along with these proposals, this is going to be outdoor community centers that are literally going to be good for thousands of children and their parents and people that just want to go and use the track, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be good because, you know, some of the things that Sal talked about with these tournaments and the different types of you know, bands and things like that that could utilize this and rent the fields that you can't do today because the fields have to be rested.
Yes.
That they're using our restaurants, they're using our, you know, our hotels, right, which
Yeah,
adds to
yes.
the revenue stream with the meals and hotels tax. So that, you know, the revenue streams aren't simply limited to renting the fields. It's also kind of the
Oh,
other things
yeah.
that go along with
Yes.
holding these types of functions. So
Yes.
I think, you know, from a character of life position, it's a great idea. I love when I heard the proposal, it was going to be a public-private, you know, that they were going to try to raise private fund, utilize some of the CPC monies, not all of it,
Yeah.
but some of it. Take some from the capital, which we had capital monies that were already earmarked for the track at McCarthy, and then be able to bond the balance of that and pay for the bond with the revenues that are generated,
I
the extra
see.
revenues from the field,
Nice.
as well as put together maybe some type of an enterprise fund. Again, Sal's absolutely correct. That's something that the town manager will end up deciding.
Yeah.
But an enterprise fund that would go back into, you know, the replacement of the synthetic carpet in 10 to 15 years when it reaches its
Okay.
life expectancy,
Wonderful.
the end of its life expectancy. So I really think that, you know, between the town manager, the school superintendent, the school committee, the board of selectmen, and all the folks that are involved with the turf field committee, they really did get creative with
Yes.
bringing a true partnership to the
Yes.
table where it's not all being pushed on to the taxpayers
Yes.
as a burden, you know.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we can go back to, you know, just what happened recently with tax relief, right? And it was, you know, some
yeah.
good discussion that happened on town
Yeah.
meeting floor and prior to town meeting floor, right, of what we should do with our free cash.
Yes.
And, you know, at the end of the day, I think we balanced it.
Yeah.
You know, we appropriated some money towards the OPEB liability, or the post-employment benefit liability, which is the real deal, right? It's out there and it's going to affect, you know, us as well as our children and their children. So it's something that needed to be addressed, but also there are people that are out of work. There are people that are struggling to make ends meet, and their taxes continually rise every year, right? So we wanted to make sure that,
Right.
you know, we could bring some type of tax relief to
Yes.
the folks, you know, the residents as well as the businesses. So this year we were able to implement the first tax relief we've had in 10 years in the town of Chelmsford. So I think the big news is town meeting, right? We'll
Yes.
get town meeting next month, so
Yeah.
April 29th will be the kickoff.
Yeah.
Got a lot of warrant articles. It may go 3 nights,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending, you know,
Yeah.
how quickly and diligently we get through some of the, you know, the budget items and things like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's another community preservation article that will be coming up from David Hedison for 115
Oh, yeah.
100% affordable units on Littleton Road, which is where the Highway Farm Market is now, and the old, you know, really 4th or 5th generation apartment buildings that are behind there now.
Is that near Jean's Flatbread? No?
No, it's before, it's
Before you
coming out
get
of the
to the-
center, it's
oh, it's
before, it's
before
kind of
that.
across from the mobile home park
Okay.
that's there.
But that's where the new subway is going to be in the gas station?
No, that's going to be on the corner of Oak Street. It's a little further up.
A little further up, but
Yeah,
it's near
but
the-
it's gonna be
it's
right
near the
next to
park.
it, right,
Oh, so
right,
right next to
yeah.
that,
So there'd be
we might
100
have these units.
115 units is what the proposal is. They're 100% affordable.
Yeah,
They're a mix of 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 1-bedroom.
yeah.
And they'll be all rental units, so available. And David's partnering with a private entity on this. And we all know David's magic when it comes to affordable housing. And that's really kind of a redevelopment of a reuse. It's rentals now, right? So it's a reuse of existing rental, you know, components today, but it's going to be brand new. It's right along 495. It abuts, you know, really industrial on one side, Oak Street, 495 to the back of it, and then Littleton Road on the front of it.
Oh, I see, nice.
Yeah.
So is
yeah.
that coming up at this town meeting,
Yes.
did you say?
Yes, and
Oh,
it will
nice.
be a portion of that.
And
David's
what's he going to be asking for? The authorization to go ahead from the town meeting
Right,
reps?
right.
with
It's
this?
$2.2 million
I-
is what the funding request is. He's giving some money back for other projects that he didn't use all the funding for.
Yeah.
So I think he's got, you know, $500,000 or $600,000 that he's looking to turn back to CPC. But the funding request would be for $2.2 million.
To come out of which bundle of
Would
money?
come out of the Affordable Housing Community Preservation Act.
So the
funds, yeah.
the CPC kind of
Right,
money
right.
that people may not know, but you might want to explain, that they pay a little bit on their property tax
That's right,
bills
right.
every month.
So
and
after the
because-
first $100,000 of evaluation,
Which
right,
is exempt from this, right?
That's
So, yeah.
exempt, right? There's a 1.5%
Yeah.
surcharge that comes through for, and that money is dedicated to Community Preservation Act uses, which
Use.
is open space purchases,
Yeah.
which we've done a few significant
Yes.
ones here.
Yeah.
Sunny Meadow Farm, and then recently the Sheehan Farm, right?
Yes, yeah.
So just, I'll pause there and let you know that since 2007,
Yeah.
the Board of Selectmen, and between Board of Selectmen, Community Preservation, and Conservation, we've put over 267 acres into permanent protection
Wow.
status that will never be developed, always retained as open space. That's truly a commitment
Yeah.
from the taxpayer's standpoint, because all that has to go through town meeting,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
They have to approve a transfer from the Board of Selectmen to Conservation. They have to approve community preservation monies
Yes.
that need to be appropriated to purchase large tracts of land.
Yeah.
And the Preservation Committee, which I've been a member since 2007, we are continually looking for, you know, other large tracts that may come up.
Yes. Yeah.
And then one that didn't come up as community preservation, but recently Oak Hill, that'll also be a town meeting article.
Yeah.
And that would be, part of the article is to transfer that from general municipal use to conservation. And it would have a preservation restriction put on that
But,
would
yeah.
always retain it.
Wasn't it going to stay with the Board of Selectmen for the first 3 years?
Part of the proposal is for
Okay.
3 years.
Yeah.
The reason for that is there needs to be a dirt parking lot put in and access so that people could actually have a place to park and access the trail network
Yeah,
that's
to
there.
take a walk on the trails or something?
And the selectmen right now control the landfill that's there.
Yeah.
And that's where the parking lot would be, towards the back of the landfill, abutting the Oak Hill property. But there's a large component of wetlands that are in between.
Yes.
So there would also, as part of that project, there would also be a footbridge that would be built from the parking area over into the Oak Hill parcel, because the way people access it now, which is either through private property,
Oh.
or they, you know, go through Scotty Hollow, which is, again, private property. So there's no town property that you can safely access it today.
That'd be great
Yeah.
if we get that built. So that'd be part of this warrant article, right?
Right,
For
right.
3 years to stay with the Board of Selectmen.
Until we can
and
get
then
them, yeah.
until we get all that done, and then transfer it over to the Conservation Commission.
That's right.
So it'll stay conservation land in perpetuity,
Right,
right?
and the article would be to transfer it from general municipal use to conservation use now.
Yeah.
That would be done as part of this warrant article here on April 29th, or April, you know, the following meeting, whenever that happens.
Yeah.
And then in 3 years, the control of the property, or the management of the property, would be transferred over to conservation.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Jim. You're involved in so many things. Did you ever think of running for state representative or state senator?
No,
You
I'm
don't-
kind of happy doing what I do here in
Oh,
Chelmsford.
well, you're doing a great job, but
Well,
you're a
thank you.
natural politician. I think, in terms of take care of all this stuff, and you keep your head about you, and you speak very well.
Well, thank
You're
you.
very respectful, so, of everybody in town, so.
But I don't have a bobblehead like you.
Yeah, I'll have to get you one, think of what kind of bobblehead to get you. But thanks, Jim, and maybe if we could talk to Ed for a couple minutes. And so Ed Roux, why have you decided to run for re-election to the planning board, Ed, this year?
Well, basically, I've enjoyed the last 2 terms on the board, and I think I've contributed to the projects that come up for review and
Yeah.
some of the zoning bylaws that we've put forward. And I want to complete a lot of the work that we're underway right now, both in the board and in the subcommittee, the zoning bylaw review subcommittee,
Yeah.
which actually does most of the groundwork on this.
You're on that subcommittee, you said?
Yeah,
No,
basically, we're meeting tonight, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Jim's
so
on
what-
it too,
oh, Jim, yeah.
representing the selectmen. And we meet as often or more often than the planning board does to work out the language and the ideas behind any revisions to zoning bylaws. Then they move into the planning board for their approval and public meetings. And matter of fact, we've got some. It was a combination of zoning bylaw and the planning board work. We're coming up at the next town meeting, and we'd like support of the town meeting to approve it, is a couple of medical marijuana articles.
Yes.
So that
yeah.
we get this under control from this town's perspective.
Yes, yeah, great.
And there's 2 of them, and it's not kind of approve one and don't approve the other. It's kind of a belt and suspenders approach, a ban, and then on one article
Yeah.
for the year, and while the regulations are developed by the
Right.
state, and the
State,
other
yeah.
one is limiting it to industrial areas.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so that's why I want to continue my work in this
Wonderful.
area. And a lot of this stuff was generated by the last master plan. And so there is going to be an end point. We're going to, and
Yes.
I'd hope to do it get to that end point in the next
Wonderful.
2 years, 3 years.
Wonderful. Do we have any other big developments coming up before the planning board, other than what Jim mentioned?
Well, we just, you mean developments to
To
review?
to review.
We just approved the current plans for the fire station.
Oh, yes,
So
yeah.
they've cleared, the planning board was virtually the last hurdle to clear.
Yeah,
So that's going to go forward.
great.
And so we should, Paul Cohen and the Permanent Building Committee have got that going now.
Great.
And so we've got there's some minor changes that were affected during the meetings and public hearings
Yeah.
at the planning board.
Yeah.
And but that's going to be a big change. It's going to look different from the baseball field area and also from 129.
Yeah,
It's going to look totally different.
yeah.
And go ahead.
Is there, what about the exit onto Chelmsford Street? Have we decided about that? I know the
That
road's going to be
we,
repaved for now.
Based on discussions during the public hearing, the town has agreed to pave it.
Pave that road.
Repave it.
Repave it,
It,
yeah.
it was paved
Yeah.
at one time, but it's in
Yeah.
pretty sorry shape.
Yeah, so that'll be repaved.
That's going to be repaved, and I think at some point you had asked about lights. That's not part of the picture.
Yeah,
You know,
You're
maybe-
going to widen the street there
Uh,
when you repave it?
it's I don't remember the exact dimensions
Yeah.
versus today, but it probably will be widened a little bit. My bet is that when they get into it, they're going to wind up tearing it all up, laying a new base and redoing it right.
Yeah, I think it really needs a little more width to it.
Yeah, and I think they're looking in the future at, there's an overflow parking lot there that's just sand right now.
Right.
And I know in a couple of 3 years, the town engineer is looking at maybe paving that area. So there's a multi-year effort that's going to go on to get that whole area in shape. It's not really in the fire station, the scope of the fire station plans, but during discussions, they felt that they could agree with us and do something there,
great.
which we were very happy with.
Wonderful.
and they're doing nice work. They're moving the food pantry around a little bit, but it's going to be there. It's found a home. It's going to be
It's found a home where? In back of the town offices?
right. Yeah,
I see,
there,
okay.
there is a trailer.
Trailer there, yes, yeah.
A large mobile home.
So
there.
they'll still have a trailer there once the
It's
fire's...
going to be relocated, maybe 20 feet away.
Yeah.
And it's going to be integrated into the parking area.
Great.
And they're going to move the handicap access ramp, and they're going to do a nice job.
Wonderful.
So we're very happy. I was very happy with that.
Yeah, thanks.
And
Thanks.
right now, so that's kind of the last big one to talk about.
Yeah.
There'll be others coming up. We understand there's a few others, but they haven't come in officially, so I don't want to jump the gun
Oh,
on
yes,
them.
yeah.
We have
Well-
to see them officially.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
The planning board's done an outstanding job too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The CVS building that went in
Oh, yeah,
recently
that was work.
downtown, and what an improvement that parcel's made. And
Yeah.
hopefully Stop and Shop will do something with their parcel in the future. But and just to throw some kudos to Ed, they're one of my liaison assignments, so I attend their meetings on a frequent basis. And I was pretty impressed when the gas station on Littleton Road came
right,
up.
that's another one.
And Ed had brought up the fact that, some of your other properties, you use these LED lights that are pretty attractive. Ed drove all the way out to Drake to take a look at
Wow.
this particular, this guy that was developing this, the owner, had mentioned these lights. Ed went all the way out to his other property in Drake and to look at the lights and take some
Wow.
pictures and bring that information back to the board. And they really do go the extra mile to
Nice.
make sure the projects look right, feel right for the community,
That's
which
wonderful.
is important. That's what we
Yes.
want from our boards.
That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah, we got some changes on Littleton Road, better fencing, because we kind of understood that there was going to be housing there, and so we've got other changes that were made to that project. So that's kind of how the planning board works.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, well, our time is zipping
I know.
by. It's amazing. I can't believe it. But and Leigh, yeah, we'll get to you eventually. Right after we get to Ralph. But first time on the show, and it's taken a while to get to you, but we will. So Ralph, you're running for town meeting representative again this year,
Right.
precinct 1,
Right,
and the election day is what, April 2nd, I believe.
right, I think so.
And you probably would like everybody to give you one of their votes, right? In precinct
Just
1.
one will do.
Yeah, one will do. Anything else you'd like to talk about that's going on in town, Ralph?
Well, there are a lot of things that bother me, but
I hope it's not the politically incorrect show.
no. My main concern is making sure people with disabilities are not neglected. That's why I have to check the final plans for the fire station. And I got permission for both town halls, as you probably know, to build the 2 town halls. I had to go to Boston and speak for them. And I think the one in North Chelmsford and the one in Chelmsford Center has energized both sections of town. North Chelmsford was always a low key, but the enthusiasm, I worked with them for about 3 years developing a plan. And the enthusiasm up there has changed tremendously.
Yes.
So I think both are going to be a success. At least I hope so.
Yeah, and they are so far.
Right.
I was just at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts like twice in the past few days.
Right.
One, there was a nice photo talk by Robert Moll, M-O-L-L.
Yeah.
He did a great job talking about his photography with a slideshow. And the other was a movie, the strangest movie I think I've ever seen in my life. It was a Polish film, and it was really an art film, you might say, really strange. And you won't see something like that in Lowell at the
Right.
movie theater. But anyway, I love seeing these art-related. Then I just had an art exhibit there too. A couple of my
Right.
photographs were there in the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. So I'm there quite. In fact, this Thursday night I'll be there again because there's the Chelmsford Business Association is hosting the Candidates Night this Thursday, March 7th, starting at 7 p.m. at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. So hopefully everybody who's interested in that could come out and see it. But if you can't get out this year, it's going to be on TV live that night, which would be wonderful. So the Chelmsford Center for the Arts and the North Town Hall Community Center are getting a lot of use here in town, Ralph.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
I work with Lowell General Hospital, Technology Drive, and I had them change their plans that they gave me originally when I took Len Olenchak with me, and we gave the plans back, and they come out with the best set of plans in all the years I've been in construction. And they finally finished it, did a beautiful job.
Wonderful.
So I still work with the architect. He calls me now and then on, especially with Charlie Parley's property.
Yes.
He's always changing.
He did a great job there in South Chelmsford with
Well,
that
he-
house that was redeveloped there.
Yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful. I mean, the way they redid it, it looks historical, but it has a modern, I think, siding and everything, but it looks wonderful.
Charlie does a good job.
He does, yeah.
He's a little stubborn, but
Yeah, yeah. And his house right there, the big yellow house, I guess that he lives in
Yeah.
South Chelmsford, is another beautiful showcase with these horse. I don't know what you call it. They're out in the pasture
They're
there.
Morgan horses.
And the Morgan horses
Yeah.
or whatever, and it's so beautiful every time I go down there because I live right nearby. I think it's a beautiful addition to the town to have all these fields with the horses just out there in the pasture.
you should,
Leanne is nearby
you should see
somewhere.
his house up at the Cathedral of the Pines.
I heard it was nice, but I've
Yeah,
never been there.
Beautiful place.
Oh, nice.
He raised thoroughbred horses up there.
Yeah.
Good to have money.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's worked hard too. He came
Oh, he has.
came from a farming
Picking
family, and
strawberries.
picking strawberries, and
Yeah.
got into the development, and he's worked really hard to get to where he is. He's
What he does, he does
amazing man.
right.
Very meticulous,
Right.
especially when it comes to construction and his properties.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and that farm there used to be the George Waite farm. And when Charlie
Oh.
bought it, he made a commitment that he was going to leave it as an agricultural property. And
Yeah.
he's
He
you know,
bought the farm up behind and added
that's
it to
that's
it.
right. That's right. And he added it on, so it's
Yeah, it's
absolutely
amazing.
beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, he's done a lot for the town over the years.
Sure
too,
has.
In terms of just his business of all the things he's done, because his buildings are so beautiful, it adds to the beauty of the town of Chelmsford, and it increases all of our property values.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If we all take care of our properties, it helps. If we had trash thrown all over the place, all of our property values would go down.
Right.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but Charlie was on the planning board for 25, 30 years. He was
Oh, I
on
didn't
for a
know.
long
Yeah.
time.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ralph. Maybe if we could talk to Leanne finally for a few minutes.
Okay.
How are things going, Leanne? Is a town meeting rep? You're running for re-election in Precinct 9 this year.
I am.
And so there's 9 candidates. So it's everybody get out there, and hopefully everybody get out on April 2nd anyway, but especially in Precinct 9 where it's so competitive
I
this
hope
year.
so.
Yeah. And so anything in particular that you'd like to discuss, Leanne, or any articles that are coming up or that have come up at town meeting you'd like to talk about? Or what do you like most about the town of Chelmsford, no?
Well, I really enjoy being a town meeting rep. I love being a part of knowing what's going on in town. I mean, otherwise, when I worked full-time before we had our kids, it was just another place to live. I liked it fine. It was good. I grew up in a city, so I didn't have anything to do with town politics.
Oh,
And I really enjoy it. We every time I come up for re-election, I talk to Eric about it. What do you think? It takes a lot of time
Yep.
away from the family, but he's very supportive of that.
I'm so
it's worked
glad
out
that
well.
you're running again, Leanne. And,
Me too. I really enjoy it.
yeah, I
like-
think you do a great job. And,
Thank you.
and especially, you have young children too, so you have that perspective as well. Young children in the school system, and not everybody has that. So, you bring that perspective to town meeting.
And I think that helps because I think the more diverse town meeting is, the better. You get all
Yes.
those different perspectives in, and
Yes.
and people with young children Jim can attest to this. It's hard to find the time
It sure
sometimes to
is.
do these extra things, but
Oh,
it's important.
yes, I could imagine. Jim has young children too. What
Well,
school?
Leanne and I, we bump into each other on the basketball court and on the soccer field. So
Yeah.
our daughters, one of Leanne's daughters and my daughter are the same age, so
Yeah.
they're
Oh, nice.
we constantly bump into one another.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Yeah.
But we don't always talk politics.
No.
Sometimes it is about the kids.
Do you like politics, Leanne, by the way, or is it just something for the town politics you're interested in, but not national or
Well,
state so
I
much?
pay attention to state and local politics, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
state and
And
federal
national.
politics, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I
Fortunately,
find
my
it
husband and I
fascinating.
agree on politics, so
Yeah.
we can discuss them safely at home.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention? Because I'll talk about some issues that you could talk about in a second, but anything particularly you'd like to mention?
I don't have anything right now.
Okay, great. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Selectman race coming up. As we all know, that's a big race in town this year with 5 candidates running for 2 seats. Matt Hansen is running for re-election this year. He'll be on the ballot on April 2nd. John Curlin decided not to run for re-election to a second term. So we have that seat open, and basically the 2 seats, though, are up for re-election, and we have 5 candidates, 4 of whom have already been on this show this year during the campaign season, which is the time you could pull papers until Election Day. I have each of the candidates on one time. So they've all been on except for Pat Maloney, who was scheduled to be on the show tonight, but there's a health issue with his family. I don't feel like I should mention it, but it was a very significant health issue, right, Jim? You know about it, that he couldn't make it tonight, but he's scheduled to be on the show 2 weeks from tonight. So we'll be before the election. But if people are wondering why Pat isn't on the show tonight, that's why. It's an important medical issue with his family that I'm sure you'll read about in the newspapers pretty soon. So before we move on, I wondered, I don't want to know who people are going to vote for or anything like that for Selectman, but does anybody want to make any comments about who do you think might win that race, or any comments about the Selectman race at all? And you don't have to, but that's open to anybody.
Well, I won't comment on who I think is going to win it, but I will, I guess my first comment would be to John Curlin, and to thank him for the last 3 years. He's been, a good colleague. He's, he puts a lot of hours in, and he's probably the feistiest one out of the 5 of us.
Yeah.
And we don't always agree. Which is probably the way that it should be.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of discussions, and we each have our own backgrounds and expertise. But as colleagues go, I think he's really done a good job. We're going to miss him on the board, and I wish him the best, him and his wife, and I hope he finally gets some time to enjoy. John's one of these guys. Every year he schedules his vacation, as most of us do. He schedules his vacation around the board meetings, right?
Yeah.
So he won't schedule his vacation until we know when the board meetings are. So that just shows you the level of commitment that all of the folks make. Not just the Board of Selectmen, but any of the other boards. I'm sure Ed's the same way. He knows when the planning board meetings are coming up, and to try to stay away from scheduling his vacations during those times. But and Matt has done a good job the last couple of years. I've worked with Matt, and he brings a whole new perspective because he's the youngest one on the board, and he's got a background in government. I wish him all the best, all the candidates the best. I'm looking forward to the debate on Thursday night.
Thursday night, the first one.
Yeah.
There's going to be about 4 forums this year, because the week after, and that Wednesday night, the Republican Town Committee is going to have a forum with the candidates where anybody in town could come to this meeting at the Chelmsford Library on that Wednesday night and ask questions of the candidates. And then on the 19th of March, the Democratic Town Committee is going to be holding their candidates night at the Chelmsford Police Station, beginning at about 7 o'clock. And then 2 days later, the League of Women Voters on March 21st are going to be holding their candidates forum.
Right.
So hopefully everybody could get out and attend as many of those as possible. But thank goodness and thankfully to the Chelmsford Telemedia, if you can't make it out those nights, you could watch most of them on TV. The Republican one's the only one that may not be televised. Historically, it hasn't been. It's not an official debate either. It's more of a forum. But hopefully someday we can get that televised as well, which would be nice.
Well, I think the good thing is plenty of opportunity to kind of get the issues out on the table, and,
Yes.
and see what each candidate brings to the table. And the good thing is we've got 5 people that are vying for 2 positions, so
Yeah, I
it gives
agree.
people a choice.
I agree. It's amazing and wonderful, I think, that we have that kind of choice. Are there any other comments from anybody else on the Selectman race before we move on?
No.
Okay. Well, Pete, I don't know if you could put on, the fire station slides that we sent you with the drawings? If you could get that out, oh good, Pete has one on. If you want to look at the monitor there quickly, you could see what the drawing is of the fire station there. And on the left is the Chelmsford Town Offices building, which will stay there. And then there'll be a little walkway across, a brick walkway, and then there's a 5-bay fire station there. So are there any comments from anybody in the panel about this design? And of course, Ed Roux has seen this many times at the planning board.
We worked it over.
Yeah.
This is the sort of the 3D, not the artist rendition of it. So the initial plans were kind of, they were typical plans, and they didn't give you the feel of how the trees are going to look like.
Okay,
So
yeah.
there'll be parking space. Behind those trees, there'll be a small parking area for about 14 cars, if I remember right. And for people who use the town hall, and the employees will be parking on the lower level. And there'll be a little street
Yes.
next to the fire station on the right-hand side. It's not shown on that.
Great. Any other comments about the fire station?
I have one.
Yeah.
On the original plans, I never found out what they were going to do on the upper floor. I said they needed a chairlift or something. There was stairways to go. They had the
Maybe
elevator only come up so high.
Basically, the way I understand it's going to work is you're going, on the, if you had the rear perspective to, is this the only one you've got?
Yeah, Pete, do you want to show one of the other slides there? Maybe, and thank you, maybe the one, the
one
next
more.
one with the rear, that one,
Yeah.
that's the rear of
Okay.
the rear perspective.
When you see all the glass area kind of in the middle, there's a ramp leading to an elevator and a stairway in that. That's a little connecting area between the main hall, the town hall, and the fire station. The elevator will go up to the second floor, and for people who need elevator to the upper levels of the town hall, they'll have to walk down to the other elevator and take that.
Now, who was going to be on that upper floor? Is it going to be just town employees?
Of the town hall,
The building you're showing right there, fire station.
you've got the fire station on the
On the
left
left.
Fire
side,
station.
and the existing town hall is on the right
Talking
side.
about the fire station.
Okay, that's just gonna be fire station employees.
Okay.
Firemen.
All right, because if it's town employees, they get a certain exemption. If they're working up there and they become disabled, you have to make it accessible.
Yeah, I think you've gotta look at the plans. I believe the
Yeah.
elevator goes up to that
I'll-
level for
I'll
them.
have to come down.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, we can come back to the panel, because unfortunately, our time is like run out. It's unbelievable
Is
that
that
it
right?
went by
Quite
so
quick.
quickly. And I'm really glad it did, because it shows that you all had, we had things to discuss about what's going on in town. We didn't get to all of the issues that I had on my list, which often happens because the discussion is so interesting, we don't get to everything. But Jim, thank you very much for being here again.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
And it's wonderful. It's your 8th time. The next time we start a new row on my Excel spreadsheet after 8 times, so that'll be great. And best of luck with next year in your reelection. I'm
Thank
looking
you,
forward to
and
that.
thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. And thank you very much, Ralph Hickey, to be on the show again.
It's a pleasure as usual.
And good luck with your reelection, Precinct 1, Town
Right.
Meeting Representative.
Right,
Thank you.
one vote will do from each.
Yeah, right. And thank you, Ed,
Thank
for
you for
being
having
here
me.
again, and good luck. I think you're all set with your reelection, because you're running unopposed at the
I'm
moment.
running unopposed, but
But every
we
vote,
appreciate every vote.
every vote is important. Yes, I
Thank you.
agree. I agree. And thank you very much, Leanne Sciacca, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And your husband Eric for taking some photos tonight. That's wonderful. And good luck with your reelection in
Oh, thank you
Town
very
Meeting
much.
Rep Precinct 9.
Yes. Precinct
So
9.
don't forget to vote on April 2nd, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And thank you for this wonderful crew. We have George and Azora and Larry on camera, and our director, Pete Badula. They all do a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing you all at the upcoming forums and or around town at all of our many events. And please look forward to our next show 2 weeks from tonight, when Pat Maloney and 3 other wonderful guests are going to be on the show. Also, just to quickly remind you, if you're on Facebook, please join the Chelmsford Reps and Residents group to know about what's going on in town. It's a wonderful group that I kind of manage, so please join that if you haven't yet. We have over 500 people on the show. Thanks a lot for watching. Ciao.